All right, everybody, this is the second video in the Lore and Legend series. We're going to be diving into Dark Souls, and you can see here that I'm using Dark Souls Remastered. It just plays easier and the network doesn't fuck around, so I can actually jump in here and do some good stuff with it. We're going to start a new game, and then we're going to watch the intro video, and there is a lot of information in this intro video that I think is going to lay the foundation for everything that we're going to be talking about as we progress through the game. So let's create a character, let's watch the intro video, and then we'll have some comments on what the hell it all means. So jump into it here. I don't know why I always name my sorcerers Muse. Okay, this is really interesting. So this is actually where we kind of get introduced to lore. This is the first opportunity to take a look at some lore. You can see here it's sort of a reduced description from what you find in the actual game, but you can go through here and you choose an introductory gift. And I can remember when I first started playing this game, when I opened it up, I had no idea what the hell any of this meant. I wasn't sure. It was so cryptic, but it was because it was so cryptic, it was so intriguing to me. And I can remember, I know, and there's been a lot made of the pendant here, of course. Trinket, no effect, but has fond memories, excuse me, but fond memories comfort players. This item has absolutely no effect, as it says, and there's been a lot made of it. I think Miyazaki, the creator of this game, has been interviewed about it, and I'm not sure if he said that he always starts his games by choosing the pendant. I'm not really sure. It might have just been a bit of a troll on his part, just to put it in here to make it seem like there's a lot more to it than there is. You can actually get this item in-game from the cleric who goes down into the catacombs, and you save her, and when you find her dead later on in the old cathedral, and you pick up the pendant. Very interesting anyway. I don't think it means a whole lot, but nonetheless worth mentioning. I always choose the master key here because there are a lot of locks at the beginning of the game that the master key opens up, and it's actually really good to have. So I'll go ahead and choose that. Who gives a shit? Dragon Scholar. Again, you get a little bit more here by way of lore. And I can remember reading some of this for the first time thinking, like, what is Astora? Are we going there? Thorland, are we going there? What is that? You know, Katarina, Kareem, Xena, kind of thing. So there's a lot of interesting stuff here, and I think, again, like I was saying in the first video, there's all these little details that draw you in because it sort of excites the imagination, and it's just totally awesome. I'm going to choose this. Scholarly looks invite insult. You got that right. I'm going to choose the most ridiculous haircut of all of them. I'm going to make it red, just for shits and giggles. Here we go. I'll reserve my comments for when this is all over.
Age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire. And with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came, and found the souls of lords within the flame. the first of the dead. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty bolts peeled apart their stone scales. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath the Scaleless betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers. And man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side.
All right, so there you have it. That is the intro video, and there is so much information. So much.
Yes, indeed. The dark sign brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
Got that hat on though. And that hair. Ho 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 ho. Okay, friends, here we are in the Northern Undead Asylum. And before I really get into a whole lot of gameplay, let's talk about that intro. There is so much information there. I don't know, you could probably spend hours and hours talking about it. I'm not going to, but I think I'm going to hit on some of the major points. The first point is the way the world was, okay? And that's important because the way the world was, it was filled with stone dragons, everlasting dragons is what it was called. And everything was stone, everything was gray and murky. It was essentially the same, okay? It was foggy memory. It represents foggy memory. And it represents a time that just was the same. Nothing was happening that was different. And I think stone there is supposed to represent something that doesn't change. It's timeless. Okay? And then the introduction actually tells you, and then came fire. And so fire becomes an extremely major theme throughout this game, of course, with bonfires and different things, the Witch of Izalith, pyromancies, etc. That's all very important. But one of the most important features to notice at the beginning is actually what is introduced with fire is change. And so when Gwyn and the Witch of Izalith and Seath and Nito and of course the furtive pygmy come along, they are institutors of change. And so what we're supposed to be thinking about is they have introduced a new paradigm. And the stone of the past, how solid it was, how timeless it was, that's now changed. And fire here is meant to represent, potential. So, when you have potential, it means that you have power. And so Gwyn is represented as establishing this incredible kingdom of power. Fire also represents light, and light is synonymous with knowledge. And if you know things, you're powerful. And so in some ways, Gwyn and the other lords then become all-powerful in the sense that they know the most. Okay? What's interesting, however, is the furtive pygmy, who we know later on becomes Manus. Sorry for the spoiler. Manus plays an interesting character in that he possesses the dark soul, which I think is actually broken up into the rest of humanity. And we capture little dark soul sprites. I don't have any at this moment, but you can see them later on. And the dark soul is trying to, I think trying to reunite itself, and I think there's a lot of really good evidence for that as we play through the game. However, that being said, why does the undead become the protagonist? Well, the undead becomes the protagonist, I think, because the undead represents that wild card. And what I mean by that is the undead has the ability to go along with the current paradigm that exists, which at this point in time is Gwyn and his kingdom, but he also has the ability to flip that paradigm or to destroy that paradigm. And so I think what happens, and it's interesting that they introduce, Oscar having thrown this in here. Oscar's on a quest, and we'll learn a little bit about Oscar when we get the Estus flask later on. But the purpose of the undead is to come in and change the paradigm, change the existing paradigm, switch things around. Gwyn and his compatriots, Seath, the Witch of Izalith, Nito, those were the original institutors of change. But then what happens is they actually become stone in some senses, in the same way that the archdragons became stone. And so what we have here is just shifting paradigm, and then something new comes along and replaces it. Something new comes along and then replaces it. You actually do have that mentioned in Dark Souls 2. And I think what the undead represents is that wild card changing agent that is represented by, the dark sign, as it mentions. You are the one who is about to bring about change. And you come along at a time when the kingdom is holding on by threads. Whether it be the undeads have just chipped away at this paradigm that Gwyn has established, but he's essentially doing everything he can to keep it going. And I love this because there's a lot of interesting things we can talk about as we go along. But in terms of the introductory video, that's essentially what I want to talk about. And so here we are. We come along at a time when the paradigm introduced by Gwyn is slowly starting to fade away. It's starting to get dark. The fire is starting to fade. All this this sort of metaphorical language is being used here. But the dark represents the unknown. And so when a new king is born, which again, spoilers, when you kill Gwyn and you have the choice to A, unite the flame, which means keep things the way that they are, keep the same paradigm going, or you have the ability to become the Dark Lord, which just means that you're now the Lord of something that's completely unknown. There's a new time, a new paradigm that's now about to be established. And as a hero, you are to go into that new abyss. And I don't use that term unapologetically. The abyss is used in this game to represent that which is unknown. If the fire represents that which is known, which is knowledge, the abyss then represents that which is unknown, which is can be considered chaos or whatever. That's interesting because we may have to consider what chaos, pyromancy, and that what the Witch of Izalith was doing and the birth of the chaos demons, whether that has anything to do with this or not. But for now, recognize that fire means potential, as does the dark, but fire means knowledge, darkness means unknown. And with this unknown and uncertainty, that is what Gwyn is fighting against. And so here we are, as I said, Oscar, he's on the quest, we're on the quest, we got our hat on, we got our broken straight sword, damn, but we got a fine looking outfit, and we're going to do it. So this is video number 2, Lore and Legend, and we'll be back at it with some more gameplay very soon.